This is the Cash Value Solutions Podcast, where your hosts, Jason Pohlmeyer and Kyle Manns, shed light on little-known money truths to help you take control of your financial future and become your own banker. Subscribe, rate, and review the show, and check us out at cashvaluesolutions.com.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Cash Value Solutions Podcast this week. What's going on, Kyle?
Well, this week we're going to be covering some frequently asked questions that we've received over the last few months.
Yeah, we released a couple episodes early on, and we thought it was a good time to come back to some of these. So,
Sure, yep.
You want to get us started?
Yeah, so something we get quite often is, what does it cost to start? People think that, maybe we charge some sort of consulting fee.
Right. So that's pretty straightforward answer. It does not cost you anything to reach out to us, to ask us questions. If we go through questions and you're still interested, we go through the process. You see an illustration, doesn't cost you anything. You aren't obligated to do business with us. We receive our pay as commission when we put policies in force.
Yep.
That's when we get paid. That's the only time we get paid.
There are some in the industry, though, that do charge to work with them. Like there's anywhere from, a couple $100 to a few thousand just to talk to somebody. And they do that, I think part of the reason is so you're not wasting their time. But so, if we feel like you're kind of fishing, wasting our time, our time is very important to us and we got a lot of stuff going on. So we're not just going to be handing out all of our time.
Right. We're not going to be handing out all of our time. That's just a comment to please, our time is valuable, so please respect it. And we're going to do our best to answer every question that you have.
Yeah, exactly.
So
another common thing we get is, what if I can't pay my entire premium?
Well, we got to cancel the policy, right, Kyle?
Yep, it's done. Yep.
It's the end of the world.
You just got screwed by us.
No, but on a serious note, that is an awesome thing about infinite banking design policies. When you structure these things for cash value accumulation, i.e. you put a PUA rider on it.
Yep.
And with certain companies as well, not all companies are flexible. You have the ability to pay what is called the base premium on the policy. The base premium is typically the smallest or smaller of the two in percentage-wise of base premium and PUA rider premium. So, for example, let's say we have a $10,000 a year premium. What should we do? $4,000 base, Kyle, and $6,000 to the PUA. That $4,000 would be required. The $6,000 is not required, and with certain companies, you can add that money at leisure throughout the year as you want to.
Or if you can't make a full payment one year, you can come back and backfill the previous year's payment with most of the companies that we use.
Yes.
So,
another note is, okay, let's say year one happened. You paid that, and we're going to stick with my $10,000 example that I just laid out. You paid that $10,000 premium. Let's say year two comes around, and you just flat cannot come up with any money. Not an ideal situation, but because of how the policy was designed, likely you can take a policy loan or what would be called an automatic premium offset and pay that premium, no dollars out of your pocket.
Mm-hmm.
This is an extremely resilient, robust design of these IBC policies.
Yeah, so don't be afraid. If you can't make the full payment every year, there's nothing wrong with that. So, but just also know that your policy is not going to perform like the illustration either if you're not finding it like the illustration.
Exactly. Very important to be aware of. And you should also realize too, that there are some companies that if you reduce your premium down to only that $4,000 and you don't pay the PUA premium, you will not be able to, without going through underwriting, boost it back up to the $10,000.
Yeah, some companies have minimum amounts that you have to put into PUAs to fund them. A common one for one company we work with is $120 a year into the PUA, which is very reasonable for somebody to get in there. Another company, you have to pay 50% of the PUA rider at least one time over a 5-year period.
Cumulatively.
Yeah, so it's very flexible. I mean, you can find a way.
Exactly. And there's companies out there that are very flexible, like what we just described. There's others that are not flexible. So just keep that in mind as you're searching for the policy that's right for you.
Yes. So on to question number 3. Is there age limit to start a policy?
There is. If you're a newborn, 15 days of age.
Mm-hmm.
And you can typically, I won't say this in every case, but typically you can obtain whole life insurance if you're still healthy enough until age 85.
Yeah. It might not make much sense, but there's always a case where
it depends
works.
on what your goals are.
Yep.
Definitely. So yeah, pretty straightforward there. And something to keep in mind is those policies that you issue on newborns at 15 years of age. I mean, Kyle, it's crazy how many times that newborns come up with things that they're diagnosed with.
Yeah.
And you can effectively give them life insurance for their entire life, assuming you continue to pay premiums on this, guaranteed from age 15 days on.
And you can also put those guaranteed insurability riders on them too.
Absolutely.
So yeah, definitely gives you some options there.
And that guaranteed insurability rider would give you the option to purchase more whole life insurance at specific points in the future if you wanted to.
And you're also starting them early, which is given more time for compound interest to do its magic. So
more time for compound interest to do its magic. And I'm a huge believer in this gives you the ability to teach your children how this works. So if you start the infinite banking process in your life and you want to, continue this and pass it on to the next generation, if you leave them a lot of death benefit without any education, that is just asking for a lot of problems.
Absolute disaster, where everything you've built your whole life could be lost, instantly, and not the other generations won't be able to experience it. So, I mean, yeah.
This gives you an awesome way to start teaching them. So, anyways, that answered that question. So let's keep moving on, Kyle.
Yeah. So the next one, which is a common one, gets confused all the time. When you pay yourself back, are you paying yourself interest? And sometimes from, videos on YouTube or even books that people read or wrote, it can seem as if they're saying that you're paying yourself back interest, and that's just not the case.
That is not the case. A lot of people get confused in becoming your own banker, although Nelson does clearly state that you are paying interest to the insurance company. But to give a short answer, the answer is no, you're not paying yourself back interest.
No.
Now, what people are talking about when they say pay yourself back is your policy, because we've taken a policy loan, your policy was just the collateral to the loan that the life insurance company gave you out of their general account. So your policy is continuing to earn guaranteed interest and dividends, even though you have an outstanding loan from the insurance company.
Yes.
So in a way, it is like that interest that you're earning is basically what people are saying that you're paying yourself back, because it's just a confusion of terminology, I think, when people say this. And it's unfortunate, I guess, because it has created a big question in the industry. But the simple answer is no, you're not paying yourself back interest. You're paying interest to the insurance company, because when you take a policy loan, you are not taking money out of your policy. It is coming from the insurance company's general account, and your policy is the collateral.
And your policy is still earning interest, though, and that's how this thing works.
Exactly. Your entire bucket of money, the portion that is collateralized for the loan from the insurance company, and whatever is still remaining in cash value that is not collateralized, is still earning guaranteed interest and dividends.
Yep.
So, no, you are not paying yourself back.
Nope. Or you're not paying yourself interest.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and here's another thing, Kyle, is you can, not saying that this is the absolute best thing to do, but you can, if you choose to, pay yourself back more interest than what the insurance company is charging. Now, in that case, the interest that the insurance company is charging for the loan is going to the insurance company. And let's say that was at a 5% rate. You decided that you wanted to pay a loan back monthly at a 7% rate, though.
Mm-hmm.
So that extra 2% is not money that's going to the insurance company anymore. It is a premium payment to your life insurance policy going into the PUA rider.
And then once you have your policy filled up, and if you're still owing yourself interest, you can put it in a savings account, save it for that next policy to start. So that's something that's totally up to you. Nelson preached that, it should be done, but you are the banker, so you can choose whether you want to do it or not.
Absolutely. So, that's the cool thing about being the banker. You're in control, Kyle.
Exactly. So we'll move on to the next common question, and we get asked, is it better to have direct recognition or non-direct recognition? And really, when it comes down to it, the most simple answer of it is no, it does not matter. And Nelson Nash himself said it well as well, that it really doesn't matter as long as you're using a good mutual company that's flexible. It doesn't really matter.
I have 2 points to add here. Actually 3. I'll start off with the short one is I own both direct recognition and non-direct recognition, Kyle, because I don't believe that it matters. It's just a different way of figuring how dividends are paid.
Mm-hmm.
How does it directly, what directly is this talking about? Direct recognition and non-direct recognition are specifically referring to how loans are recognized that you are taking against these policies.
Yep.
Non-direct recognition companies do not recognize the fact that you have a policy loan outstanding. So for instance, let's say you have $100,000 of cash value built up. $50,000 is being collateralized by a policy loan. $50,000 is not collateralized because there is no policy loan against it.
Mm-hmm.
You continue to earn the same guaranteed interest and the same dividends on that entire $100,000 of money, even though $50,000 has a loan outstanding against it.
Yep.
A direct recognition policy, same example. They will not adjust the guaranteed interest. That is guaranteed and it is going to happen. But what they do is adjust the dividend on the money that is collateralizing the policy loan. So in that same example, that $50,000, they can adjust it. And they can adjust it up or down. Typically, you're going to know that before you take out the policy, how that works.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a big deal. One story also that I think brings a lot of clarity to this. My mentor, John Montoya, when he was starting his first IBC policy, he shot Nelson an email and was wondering, what do I do? Non-direct recognition or direct recognition? Nelson lived in Alabama and John lived in California. There's a little bit of a time difference there. And so Nelson ended up calling John as he was putting his kids in the car to go to school that morning. And John was very surprised to get this phone call. And the short of it is, Nelson told John, you're majoring in the minors, meaning that you're focusing on the wrong things. This isn't important when it comes to becoming your own banker. This is a minor detail. And he was just speaking about the direct recognition and non-direct recognition. It's not a big deal.
Does not matter.
Yeah. So that's all I have to say on that.
So the last question we'll be going over today is, does it make you more money? Does your money grow more with one large policy compared to multiple other policies? And I guess I would say is it's very hard for you to start off with your first policy large enough because you're just new to the concept and everything. And you're probably never going to start as big as what you should. And it's a lot better if you can, though, because you're getting through that capitalization phase. With the first policy, the larger the policy you can do, I think the better off you're going to be because you're getting over that capitalization phase. Now, if you're just doing a bunch of small policies, every year, you're constantly in the capitalization phase. It's not a bad thing because you're going to get out of it at some point, and if your income is rising, that's great, and you can keep starting a policy. Awesome,
And you're doing what you can right now with what you have.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't think it makes much sense to just keep starting a bunch of little policies. Like if you're doing, 4,000 here and then 4,000, 4,000, that
Whereas if we really sit down and plan, and maybe it's like, no, you can start a $25,000 policy right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you should go ahead and do it.
Yeah. Or if it's, hey, you can start, maybe it is only a $4,000 policy. Nothing wrong with that. But, save up a little until your next policy. So, you're not just having a bunch of $4,000 policies.
And, to answer the direct question here, does your money grow larger with one policy or multiple policies? Yes. I mean, if theoretically you started a $50,000 policy on day one and 10 $5,000 policies on day one, the $50,000 policy is going to be slightly larger, mainly due to the fact that insurance gets cheaper the more of it that you buy.
Yeah, you do gain a little bit of efficiency as you purchase more insurance. It's not like the end all be all.
We are talking about very, very small numbers here.
But it's there and it's real. So,
yep, it absolutely is. So if you can, you want to do it. Here's something that I think doesn't make sense to me personally is when people have buckets of money. And so, Kyle, I'm going to have one bucket of money. So I'm going to have one policy for business expenses. I'm going to start another one for my children's education. And I'm going to have another one for family vacations and maybe even like some home repairs, things like that. Okay. If you're going to start 3 policies like that, I would definitely recommend looking at just doing one policy, keeping track of the numbers, of what's being spent on each of those categories, and just being honest with yourself, paying it back.
It's not that hard to track it if you need to. I mean, you can, develop an Excel sheet pretty easy to keep track of that stuff. And it's just going to be much less of a headache.
Everything's going to be on that one large policy. Everything's going to be looked at as one loan by the insurance company.
Yeah.
If you take out loans within, a couple weeks of each other and haven't paid the other one back, but it's also going to be less for you to manage as far as policies, having 3 policies to pay premium on, 3 policies to pay loan repayments back to. The more you can simplify, the easier it's going to make your life, and it's going to benefit you slightly with a little bit cheaper insurance, cost of insurance.
If it's easier for you, you're going to use it more. So that's also
absolutely, that is so true, Kyle.
And like between a husband and wife, like, don't think that you need to have the whole policy on one person. We often suggest to people, like if you're going to start, let's say, a $20,000 policy, that it does make sense to split that down the middle and do 10 and 10 on each, or, depending on income, whatever. But somewhere along the lines of splitting that up between 2 policies makes a lot of sense, and you're not losing much efficiency at all.
You're not losing much efficiency. And if that's not where you're at, you aren't in that right mindset. For people in their 20s to 40s, even 50s, term insurance does not cost very much money.
No.
And so you could easily buy the amount of death benefit that you have with a term policy for the person who isn't covered in that last scenario.
Sure.
Kyle laid out, if you want to put all the money into one whole life insurance policy on one person.
Yep.
So those are the questions we have for you guys today, and I hope that our answers were clear and brought some clarity to you.
Yeah, and feel free to submit any questions that you have, and we'll include them in our next Frequently Asked podcast.
Yeah, and highly encourage you guys. We just got done with our book review podcast series. But I would highly encourage anybody that hasn't already read Becoming Your Own Banker to get a copy of that. And you can find that in the show notes of the podcast. So,
Yep. We'll get that included in there. So,
okay. That's it for this time, guys. Thank you.
This was the Cash Value Solutions Podcast. Remember to subscribe, rate, and review the show. Check us out at cashvaluesolutions.com. And don't forget to tune in next week.